Vi tar det på finska och engelska. Okej. Ja. Okay, welcome. I ask you to take a seat. Today is the whole day more or less devoted for a very profound concept of developing the area, logistics. So far this week, Wasa Innovation Center, together with partnership with all the players in the region, we have launched a lot of fundamentally new things which will be implemented, not just talked about. The new level of energy systems for the energy companies, which could provide a new good life the coming 50 years in the area, but also for the whole of Finland. We have discussed the new initiatives in the healthcare sector, fundamental new things which could help create a more efficient healthcare cost budget in the region. We have implemented, even in the cultural field, new football culture. And I, for the first time in 100 years, the organizations has agreed to not only fight about the players, but to fight for better players in all the organizations and to create a new football culture in the region. So I hope that you will, during this day, have as successful results with all your discussions, not only to talk, but you have to decide what to do, because what you are talking should be implemented during the next year and the coming years. With this wish and hope, I give over to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the last seminar day at Wasa Future Festival. I'm Anna Bertils, and I'm going to act as your moderator today. Arvoisat seminaarin osallistujat, haluan toivottaa teidät kaikki sydämellisesti tervetulleiksi tähän Wasa Future Festivaalin päätöspäivälle. Nimeni on Anna ja toimimme moderaattorina tänään. Välkommen ska ni vara till Kvarkenrådets seminarium idag här. Välkomna till er på andra sidan Kvarken som hoppeligen följer med vår stream här som bäst. Och alla ni andra som följer med via streamen. Vi använder engelska idag så att alla kan ta del av programmet på olika sidor av Kvarken. First up, electric aviation, the fair way of traveling in the Kvarken region. And a big welcome to Mr. Mattias Lindström, Director of Kvarken Council.
Is this on?
Yes, it's on.
It is. Thank you, Anna. Good morning and afternoon, depending on from which part of the world you're participating in today's seminar. Welcome to the sunny city of Wasa and the Kvarken region. It isn't that sunny today, but I'm sure it will be in the afternoon. And my name, as Anna said, is Mattias Lindström. I work as a director for the Kvarken Council. That is a cross-border organization between Österbotten and Västerbotten and the municipality of Örnsköldsvik. And as you all know, and that's probably why you're all here or participating via the stream, that there's a lot of developing projects, interesting future-oriented projects and discussions going on in the region at the moment. Discussions about the future and what the future holds in its hands is always causing lively debates, as it should do. But in the debates and within and between different opinions, you will probably find the possible truth, or at least a good guess about what the future will bring. But in order to have a fruitful debate and a good debate about the pros and cons and the effects and the benefits of future projects, it's also beneficial that you have the best facts available as a base for the discussion, and that the facts are available for everybody to take part of. That's why we have now today invited the best experts in the regions or people involved in future projects in the regions, so you all can ask them questions, and also so that the media can ask them questions, so we can have these fruitful discussions going on also in the future. It's also good to bear in mind that in many cases, the future and the opportunity you can create and believe in sometimes utopistical projects are closer and more realistic than you think if you believe in what you do and you put your mind and effort to it. You just go get it, so to speak. A good example is when the actors in the region started to run for the ferry project to create the most environmental friendly and innovative ferry in the world. We had many doubters out around in the regions saying that it was a waste of time and it's not worth the efforts. But yesterday you all could follow when it was put into water. And that's a good example of what you can achieve if you believe in what you're doing. The Norwell factory, battery factory outside Skellefteå on the other side of the straits is also a good example. Many things seem impossible until somebody do them. But I will start with presenting shortly the last project within the Kvarken Councils that we have founded and put up with our cooperators and cooperating organizations all over the Kvarken region. It's called FAIR, Finding Innovations to Accelerate Implementation of Electric Regional Aviation. And this will be like an introduction to then when Mr. Janne Vasama will speak more about in detail about electric aviation and what it can bring to our region in the future. As you know, there's a lot of challenges, but also possibilities related to aviation and also to electric aviation. And there is 3 major challenges in the aviation industry that the electric aviation can answer to. It's the climate change, environment, profitability, and accessibility. With lower emission, with the help of electricity, you can also lower the impact on the environment and also lower the noise impacted by the flight industry. You can also lower the fuel costs and also the maintenance costs, which is also a very important thing, because by doing that, you can also create profitability for less busy routes. And that's, of course, very interesting from our region's point of view. We have quite long distances. We have not that many people. So that's why it would be very interesting to see what cheap flights with aircrafts with quite a few seats could bring to us and how it could change the way that we move today around in the world. This project that we have now founded is quite different from the other electric aviation projects because we are not focusing on technology at this time. We are focusing more on what are the regional effects of electric aviation. We have divided this into 3 work packages, and the first one will look into detail in these regional effects of electric aviation. What are the future market analysis, how the airline network analysis, and also socioeconomic impacts of future electric aviation and new and more routes within the region with the help of electric aviation. We are also happy that we have good, so to speak, VP leaders in all of these. We are not expert. The Kvarken Council is the platform. We create the platform and then we invite experts and make them work together. So this VP1 is led by Umeå University and the University of Wasa. The VP2, we will look into the guidelines for implementation. We will look into what are the investments needed in order for these regional airports to could take care of future electric airplanes so that we could be an early implementer of electric aviation. Because if you don't have the infrastructure available, it doesn't matter if the technique is there. We have to be on the road in good time. And the partner leading this work patch is Biofuel Region situated in Umeå. And then we have this cross-border innovation process. We will, within this work package, also create a competence network with other projects working with electric aviation projects in order to form a stable and also maybe a new, so to speak, organization to drive this together on a Nordic basis in the future. We also look into what kind of innovations are related to electric aviation and implementation of electric aviation and try also to make business of it, of course. business driven. That has been a key word during these days in this seminar. And the project partner leading this work package is RISE, that is the National Research Institute in Sweden. So that's also something that we are very happy about. What will then this result in? We will know how we will have method for commercialization of electric aviation in the Kvarken region, know-how and effects of the electric aviation, guidelines of needs and measures for unfounding solutions to the regional airports. They know what they have to do, they know the costs, and they know where they can get financing. That's our ambition. I was already talking about innovative concepts with product and services and business model, and also, of course, as in all our other projects, integration of gender equality and non-discrimination. The last but not the last, we will want to create, and we are already creating, Janne is a part of it already, an international network of electric aviation that we here together with the world can develop this. And also, of course, enhanced connections between regional actors and business, and also improve the connectivity of our region, because we have a lot of industry that need well-functioning connections, and this can serve as a solution for that. And these all results can be used then as input to EU, national, Nordic level, and aviation industry, but also to the local actors to take decisions on what kind of investments they need to do in order to be an early implementer of the project, or of the electric aviation. As you can see, I must say that when we started to plan this project, not everybody was very convinced that it was a good idea. But as we were going, and we discussed this with Janne yesterday, a lot of things has happened since then. And Janne was involved at the earliest stage possible. After that, when people realized that this is quite a good idea, partners that wanted to participate in the projects were coming from all corners of the world, and we at some point we had to say, oh, it's enough, we cannot accept more partners. So the interest for the project is huge. And as you can see, we have a lot of finances. We had almost all of the regional airports financing. We have the chambers of commerce financing. We have the private partners financing, Skellefteå Kraft and Wasa Elektriska, and both universities involved. So we are very happy of this partnership. And as you can see, we also have a large number of supporting partners that want to participate, to contribute to the project, and also take part of the project's result. But with these words, I will leave over to the expert, because as I said, I'm not an expert. We are very happy to have Janne, and later today Esa Eranti here in Wasa to answer the questions you might have. So Janne, the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you, Matthias. Yes, so my name is Matthias. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, my name is Janne Wasama. I'm the chairman of Helsinki Electric Aviation Association, which has been founded in late 1917 for creating some electric flying in Finland. We do have one electric plane which we are flying and use that for testing. We are starting now some development together with Aalto University. And also we are talking a lot with politics to make them understand about what is electric flying and what we can do with it. All right. Problems? Now it's working, yeah. First, why should we fly electric in first case? What makes sense? So at the end, electric flying is probably the most ecological way of moving, better than railways. Where that comes from? Oh shit, sorry. Here we go. Laser is not working. So first of all, the trip is always shorter when we go like a bird way, directly place to other. Typically 20%, sometimes even 50% shorter way.
The only way to travel without generating any small particles is electric flying. Small particles is the most harmful emissions what traveling is causing. About 2,000 people kill every year because of the small particles. And if you look like in road accidents, dies about 200 people. Now this pandemic, it has been died some 300 people, and small particles kills about 2,000 people in a year. Very small need of infra. If you calculate traveling in bigger picture, we calculate when you build the infra, you build the railways, you build the roads, then you maintain the roads and railways and so on. That's also cause emissions. And for flying, you only need 1.5 kilometers asphalt, both ends, and that's it. So very small need of infra. And also very small usage of natural resources. You can see here in Suomen Kuvalehti, there were an article about different way of traveling and how much they use natural resources. And here, uses of natural resources in 1 kilometer of travel. And you can see flying is doing pretty well there because they use so little infra. Okay. Why electric? It's cheap. It's cheap for users, it's cheap for society. Two biggest costs of operating airplane is fuel consumption and engine repairs, engine services. And both are in electric plane about 1/10 what is in traditional planes. So very big difference. And yes, socially cheap. No need for subsidies. If we talk about railway, traveling, I think that we are, Valtion Rautatiet showed some profit. Why did they show some profit? Because they get so much subsidies. It actually made some 200 to 400 billion losses if you calculate all the subsidies and all the costs. What's normally, for example, in flying, you pay everything. You pay the traffic control cost, weather services, what our airport used, that are all included your ticket, not in trains. However, saying that, I'm absolutely not against rails, and we need both. And electric flying can't do everything what we do with rails, but electric flying is very good for fast people moving. And that part is that what electric flying will do the best. Yes, it's fast. We go direct, and with plane we can go speeds which would be very, very difficult and expensive to do on ground transportation. Even the first generation electric planes, they go 300, 400 kilometers per hour. And if you want to make even train going 300 kilometers per hour, that would be very, very expensive. We talk about billions of investments. And something what people really don't understand is that flying is actually not so bad way of moving if you want to go fast. Flying is the most efficient way of moving. If you try to go 300 kilometers per hour by car, you will be using way more energy than when you go 300 kilometers by plane. By 300 kilometers per hour by aeroplane. So that's when we have these discussions about these extra tax for flying because it's so bad and so on. People start to think that, hey, the flying is the bad thing. But no, it's not. The flying is the bad thing. Yes, you generate a lot of CO2 when you fly from here to Thailand, or you fly here to Canary Island, Why? Because it's so long way, and you go very, very fast. You go 800, 900 kilometers per hour. Going into Thailand any other way would cause even more CO2 than when you go by flying. Especially if you start to calculate the 2 weeks traveling time and everything what you use in 2 weeks time, you leave and eat and everything. So flying at the end is not so bad. If you want to go fast, that's the best way of traveling and most energy efficient way of traveling. Okay. We are all fine with this, right? Okay. So, working opportunity. I have 2 slides about this. This is first, and then pretty end of the presentation, I have other one. Now, a little bit about what would it be change? What will change? The electric planes are small. They are so-called CS-23 class airplanes, 19 passenger seats or less. And what that means is that we can make everything faster. Boarding the plane will be very fast. This 15 minutes what I have here is what the American air companies are using, which are using small planes. In US, there are companies who are using small planes, and they are using cities number 3 or number 4 airports. And they're saying that you should be in the airport 10 to 15 minutes before the departure. So these are also the things what we need to think when we go to this electric flying with smaller planes. We need to change the way we used to use air traffic. Okay. Now, when we travel, train or flying or so, we use hubs. To go from A to B, we go through few hubs. But when we get these smaller electric planes, which are cheap enough to operate, we can have more direct lines. So we go directly from A to B without going through these hubs. That's what everybody is thinking, how world will change after these small, cheap enough operate electric planes are coming. And then if there is very busy line, why not flying every 30 minutes, every 40 minutes? In US, some of the operators which are using these small planes, they are already doing this. I was flying from Palm Springs to LA, and there they had planes, they were about 12 seats. They were flying every 30 minutes. So it changes your way of traveling. There is not one large plane in the morning going somewhere, and then you spend whole day because you had 2 hours meeting there, and then the evening you come back. But there are more frequent flying, small planes, but more often. Makes your traveling much more smooth. Okay, it should be cheaper, new routes, because it's can make profitably even in between small cities. New operational models. Yeah, I say monthly fee. What monthly fee means? That the companies, maybe a city, some people pay monthly fee to the company, their company, that you can fly as much you want with their planes. Means that some months you win, some months you maybe don't win. But it also means that the air company can keep it flying even it has only a couple of passengers in sometimes. So it gives like a base level at bottom of the incoming, and they can keep the lines much more frequent, because there will be days that you only have 1 or 2 passengers. But this kind of new kind of models, you can operate them even so and keep it living. And the monthly fee could be something like 2,000 euros or so. Good for corporates to know that, hey, these flight lines will be alive here. They don't stop it after a few weeks or when there comes this time that the people are not flying. And so giving the trust that it will be operating. Okay, taxi flights more because of lower price. Maybe electric seaplanes. Two world largest seaplane operators actually announced that they will electrify whole day fleet. They retrofit their current aeroplanes to work electric. They do so-called island hopping, so only few, maybe 20, 30 kilometers flights. Suits very well that kind of working. And for tourism, for example, here where you have this nice archipelago, would be great. And there is actually in one seaplane, electric seaplane project in Finland. I hope that will get up well. And what will change? We can be proud to be going by air. No flights come anymore. So we can say people that, hey, did you came by train? You bad people. I came with electric plane. Time changed. Okay, then these eVTOL planes. Everybody wants to hear about these. Very interesting. However, this is not going to be the big thing here in near future. Eventually, they will probably come here too. Actually, one of the Rolls-Royce guys said in one meeting that he hates that these things got all the media attention and all the financing. Even they think that the fixed wing, more traditional local planes has much more bigger meaning at the end. Even the Rolls-Royce is doing themselves one of these eVTOLs. These things, there are about 200 projects in the world right now, and they will start about same time, mid of 20s, to operate in big cities. Will be very interesting to see what it will be at the end. But why do I have this here is the thing that when we think about operating these, we need to think about these things. Like similarly, when we think about how to operate the new electric airplanes, it's not just that we change the current plane to electric and we go as it has been going before. No, we need to change the whole chain. How we operate them, what is the customer feeling, experience of the traveling, how do we need to do the booking, all the services around, that makes the difference. Not just that we changed the plane. We need to think about changing the operations in airport. By the way, is there anybody from airports? No, good, because they don't understand the rules, what they're getting from different EU, from EASA, and from Traficom and so on. But we need to look around those and think how we can make this as smooth as possible. That's the way we get people in this plane. That's what we need to do also, not just change the planes. And one thing is this public acceptance. First of all, of course, safety must be similar level than the large passenger planes are doing right now, which is by far the most safe way of traveling. One accident for the electric plane somewhere could make a big difference, even it's a small thing at the end in a big picture. So it must be, for starting, very, very safe. Noise. Always when we talk about airplanes, people talk about noise. Electric planes, of course, are very less noisy than these traditional turbine engine planes, what we hear about going around. It's not only the engine, it's also the size. What smaller plane, that less noise it do. For example, Finland's second busiest airport by landings is Malmi Airport. Actually, at the moment, is the most busy airport in Finland is Malmi Airport. And if you look Helsinki web pages, Malmi Airport is one of Helsinki's quiet areas. So small planes don't make noise. And when we go this electric flying in many cities, we need to build again city airports that they can serve people well. But the noise with these is not going to be the issue if we look just decibels. Of course, noise is a very complicated thing. Some noises don't need to be very loudy to be very irritating. Example, old school green boards and the white thing, liitui, pofinska. If you do the sound, creak, it's very irritating, even its decibels, it's very little. So the sound, how is the sound, that means a lot, and these eVTOL manufacturers are now putting a lot of efforts to get their sound so that it doesn't hear bad for people. Okay, convenience. The trip must be as convenient as possible, as easy as possible. So the experience of the traveling must be good. That must be better than what we actually do with current planes. We need to do the boarding faster. We need to do everything easier. Price. I have been telling you that how very cheap it will be. Well, it won't for starting. Of course, everything new technology, it's for starting, it will cost more than we would like to see it costing. And for starting, when the price is so that it's maybe only used for business people, so normal people are not using, then we get back to the noise. Even there's not noise, but people think that it's very irritating. Those rich people are going there, and I hate that sound when the rich people are going there, and I'm driving down here. Those of you who remember when mobile phones came, how that went. First, we get those very large bricks, worked about 2 hours with one charge, and cost, I don't know, 25 Finnish marks on that time, probably something like 8,000–9,000 euros at the moment. First, people were laughing those that this guy must have very small because he needs that thing. And then the price went down. They were still very expensive, and the using of them were expensive. So it was only businessmen who were using, or rich people. And then those started to be very irritating. There were discussions that you should forbid using mobile phones in public places, and at least restaurants. It's so irritating, people are talking those phones and blah, blah, blah. And then when we see the price went down, that even school kids them, then it's don't irritate anybody. So I'm sure that we might have this kind of development here too. For starting, it's too expensive for some people, and then there's a lot of people say that, hey, this is stupid, and the noise is terrible and whatever, but it will come there at the end. All right, one example of these eVTOLs. This is Liliumjet, German manufacturer. They were talking in one of our electric and ecological flying seminar in Helsinki, which we have had 2 times now. Next time it will be 10th of March next year. Put it in your calendar. And they gave this kind of example. 2 airports, London Heathrow and London Gatwick. And first of all, distance. By flying 40 kilometers, by car 61 kilometers. Time, flying 8 minutes. By car 60 minutes if there is no traffic. If there is a lot of traffic, then maybe a little bit more. Price, by this limit, 40 euros. By taxi, wheel taxi, 75 euros. So, looks pretty competitive. And by the way, this has been calculated so that there is still pilot, not done yet, and there is a driver, of course, on the car. Even the pilot in this jet is probably more expensive than the driver on the taxi, but he's only spending 8 minutes for one trip. So he can make quite a many trips more than this guy going by wheels. So, quite amazing technology. And by the way, this Lilium guy says that they will be fully autonomous in early 30s. Then the price will be about half of that. All right, coming back to Kvarken opportunity. As we know, the good accessibility is very, very important for export companies. Not only that you can go outside, but your customers can come to see your factory. Your customers can easily come to audit your factory. And when you do all kind of development, cooperation, you must be able to travel easy. And it will change traveling times. Let's think about, for example, what with Kuopio, Wasa, Kuopio. How do you go from Wasa to Kuopio or Kuopio to Wasa? By train, probably through Tampere, I guess. Right, how much that would be? 4 hours. Airplane, you go through Helsinki. Probably not any shorter, but if you have a direct flight, it's 1 hour or so. And very much easier, very much faster. And as you can see, in Finland, we have a lot of airports. We have about 80 airports, which of 20 of them are Finavia airports. Most of them are private or city-owned, which don't have any services. But those could be used for the electric passenger flights. And one thing is to learn how to operate these, for example, if it's even scheduled flights to very small airports. All the technology and the systems does not exist yet. So that's work for somebody. Yeah, and tourism was actually the fastest growing business before this corona epidemic in Finland. And that's very, very sad, this current situation. But this electric flying is something what we could really expand the tourism. Tourists wants to get easy in different places. And if you look what Finland is selling, take Business Finland sales brochure to different countries why to come in Finland. There are these lake areas, there are these archipelago areas, then there's a Lapland forest. Okay. So to get those areas, electric flying would be great way to do it. By taxi flights, for example, which then would be much more competitive. All right. Yes, we can, with electric flying, we can get fast transportation between cities with the minimum investments. In many cases, we don't need any investments in the infra or it's very, very little comparing to any other methods of traveling. And these airports will be the engines of the regional economy. They can call it physical internet, these airplane routes. Okay, but creating all these services, what we need for operate these planes smoothly, and the technology, that's the opportunity what you have when you are the forerunner in something. You guys, if you talk about technology, you guys here are very keen of doing batteries. We are now starting a airplane battery project with Aalto University in Helsinki. The Aalto patented technology, it's not about the battery chemistry, but it's about the heat management in batteries. So maybe in the area, you could start to build batteries here. When you think about going batteries, there is a millions of billions business in car industry, but you have also millions of billions competitors there, and you have a very tiny margins. How about going in airplane batteries? For starting, it's very hard. You need all kind of different approvals or systems and everything to be able to do things what are put in airplane. But then margins are higher and much less competition. Just to think about it. And then all these operating models, the way of operating airports, the way of operating people going in planes, all that is something what needs to be rethinked and done again, I think. Okay, and then when things are learned how to do the best practices and so on, then it can be sold to someone else. All right. How much do I have our time? No problems. Okay. Okay, a couple of other things. This is one thing. Will electric flying overtake high-speed trains? That question is not. That question has been now asked in Europe, many places. In UK, they calculated that the fast train track they are planning to from South England to Scotland won't pay it back in 100 years. The cost is so high. So the high-speed trains, when you make high-speed train track, for example, between Tampere and Helsinki, okay, you then can go in 1 hour from Tampere to Helsinki, which is now, I think, 1 hour, 20 minutes. So we improve that. But at the same time, the towns between the rail, their traveling won't be improved. It's going worse because then there are less of these slow trains stopping these Hämeenlinna, Järvenpää, Kerava. And now at least Kerava has been pushing back that, hey, we don't want these high-speed trains. If the fast moving need between Helsinki and Tampere or Turku would be made by plane, first generation electric planes would fly that in 30 minutes. And we need minimum investments. The only investment is that we need to keep the Malmi airport living because large hub airports like Helsinki-Vantaa is not suitable for these kind of small electric planes. They need so-called city airports near city centrums. And of course, the cost to make these high-speed train tracks is billions comparing to these electric flight routes, which, as I said, don't need too much of investments. All right. What? Okay. Then we expand the area. So should Nordic countries actually be the forerunners for electrifying? This is now what I have been hearing from Norway, Sweden, what they would like to do. Why? Because then we have big enough market area to convince the investors that, hey, now we should put money to this technology, invest to this technology and systems and so on. If we would make similar electric flying strategy for Nordic, what Norwegians has now, then it's like a strong commitment from countries that, hey, we want to go this way. And when we are forerunners, we can make decisions. We can make decisions what would be the charging standard, for example. Like in earlier days, we make decision what would be the radio mobile phone standard, NMT. Because we went NMT, Nokia and Ericsson was then doing the GSM. They were the key players when the next standard were decided. So that's something where we can influence things. That's something where we can create some business for ourselves. These first generation airplanes are flying about 400 kilometers or less routes. And there is already 300 of that kind of routes in Nordic countries. So actually, the flying routes are not always very long. And if you look flights from Nordic, actually more than half of the seat kilometers, so not number of flights, but seat kilometers, is either inside domestic flights or flights between Nordic countries. So more than half. And when Finland, you talk about flying, everybody thinks about, yeah, that means that you go in Japan. But if you calculate all Nordic seat kilometers, only 7% of the seat kilometers go outside of Europe. 7%, so minority. Anyhow, we have these plans. Finland wants to be CO2 neutral in 35, or even earlier if they have changed it. This is the way also to help that. And when we look a little bit more further, next generation planes, they are thinking that the range would be about 1,000 kilometers. European domestic flights, 97% are 1,000 kilometers or less. So most of European flights could be flying with electric planes in late 30s. 97%. Okay. So if we can generate something business here for electric flying, whatever it is, the digitalization of airports or something, there is going to be a very large market in the future. Yes, that's it. Now, questions.
Thank you, Janne.
Thank
Now
you.
we have a big applause. Sit down. Now we have about 10 minutes for panel discussion and questions, and there's one question. Yes, go ahead. So the question is, what kind of obstacles?
Yeah, well, things are never so easy. Then we first think, what are the biggest obstacles? First, I think the manufacturers of the planes has very aggressive plans, timetables. Okay. They might be a year or two late, but that has very, very small meaning. But other than that, I think there is not really any big obstacles. It just goes things like that if then happens an accident, then it might stop it for a long time. Like what happens when they were first developing these air packs, these safety packs. I think this was already in 70s. They were developing those, and then one explode without a reason, and the guy happens to have pipe in his mouth, and he get killed. And then in 10 years, nothing happened before they again started to. So I don't think there is any major technical. Of course, batteries could be better, and they could get faster, better. The theoretical maximums of some of the technologies, like lithium-ion battery, it's very similar than gasoline. So in theory, you could do very, very large batteries, very, very big capacity batteries. Now we are in few % of that. How fast we will get there? Will we get there? These are questions we don't not yet know. But if we look back, some technologies, I've been in electronics, and I've remembered that early 80s, they already said that ICs can't really be making smaller because of the length of the light wave and so on. So, but still we do that.
But how's the political debate today? The political debate?
Political debate is getting better. Now the politics are listening more, and they have been getting much more interested in electric flying as they used to be. So I hope that the politics will also see the possibilities of electric flying.
Okay, any question there? Go ahead.
Thank you. It was very interesting and full of nice details, attractive details. So I'm asking one, when you made this concept, what type of aircraft, actually how many seats did you think that this region could have? When you said that the company monthly fee could be approximately 2,000 euros. So how many seats would that aircraft have?
There will be several sizes. That idea, it wasn't my idea, it was an idea of one Finnish company which is thinking of operating electric planes, and they're starting earlier with the traditional small planes. They're talking about 9-seat planes. So it could be 9-seat planes, and then there's a 19-seat planes, and then smaller and bigger and everything between. Let's see what will be coming in near future.
There's one question.
Yes, it seems like the electric flights are, or they are more driven by startup companies and smaller companies, and still we see that all the big international airlines are more or less in crisis. Do you think, or do you know that the big airlines are studying or investing in electric, or is this driven by new companies?
In both ways. Some bigger companies are looking for the electric planes. Some are not. It's needs also for the large operators. Let's take this, our local Finnair. They stopped using small planes already in 80s or 90s, I don't remember. And they businesses has been completely in somewhere else, and the operation models are made for the big planes, and you cannot operate these small planes with similar models. So even if big companies like Finnair started to use this, I think it will be a separate company where they then make these electric and small plane operations. But yes, some big companies has been thinking about it, has been talking about it. Some of the low-cost electric or the air companies has been talking about it. Also, we have to remember that these larger planes, over 100-seat planes, are promised to be there in early 30s. Wright airplane company has promised what was it, 150-seat plane in early 30s. So then everybody is interested in flying electric, also those companies, and that's 10 years is not very long from now.
Matthias, you talked about achieve when you believe in the beginning. Is this the next leap forward for the Nordic cooperation? How do you look at the Kvarken region?
I think this is a big opportunity for the Nordic countries, as Janne was already talking about, and I think that as the situation is now, when we have several very concrete ongoing projects in the region or in the Nordic countries, and also both these are looking into these regional effects, but also in the technology side, I think we should now already start thinking about this and joint forces at an early stage. And my personal opinion is that the Nordic Council of Ministers should now do something very concrete together and start forming a big Nordic, so to speak, platform related to electric aviation. This would be a very hands-on project that also both the industry and the people in the Nordic countries could see direct effects from.
So that's the next step.
I hope so.
Any more questions? Okay. One last question, yes.
Just wonder if around the globe, if there is any aim to see on the military aviation for military defense purposes, or the Finnish border guards, for instance.
Yes, the military has been in US flying already long time, all kind of tests, and now these drones are coming everywhere. So Finnish ports are already testing ports. Finnish military is having drones, fixed-wing drones, and it's coming everywhere. And when drones are coming more and more intellectual, they are doing without any control things like looking something, or doing like in China, they do a lot of agriculture work, fully autonomous. So it's coming everywhere, and for medical care, ambulance flights, and interesting information I heard from one American company that if the accident happens longer than 1 hour from the trauma center, the possibility of death goes 50% up. So then when we call these ambulance flights with electric planes, we'll get things much faster. And German ambulance flight company, German HEMS, are actually starting of testing one drone kind of plane, which is only two-seated, and 70% of the time the thing is not the patient moving, but to get the doctor on time in there. So they are planning to have even 200 of those top of hospitals, so they can get doctors very fast on place. And it's so much cheaper to operate than current helicopters, and you don't need so long range. They are fine with 100 kilometers range, so it's going to be less than 50 kilometers flight to the accident place and back.
Sture.
If there is time, you could tell us something about the drone technology, even more. We would like to set up a drone immediately here now to transport locally produced food and take it without any needed to transport it by cars, and also connect with the Umeå. But when will it be legally possible to transport people? Will that take the same time as with the other flight modes, or could the drone technology be the one who kickstarts the business?
Yeah, drones. you need similar certification for drones to carry people than you need aeroplanes to carry people. Right now, they are promising to have a drones in 23, 25 time scale. A lot of these drones or eVTOLs which can carry people. Actually, in China, you can already use the e-hand drone and get in the drone and fly with it. But that's because it's not certified as an airplane, but it's like whatever that's in English, lennokki, because it's radio controlled. Then it's not an airplane. Drones will come and the autonomy flights will start with the cargo drones, and already now you can order cargo drones. And the shipments will start 21 next year sometimes. So it's going to be developing fast, and they are coming, and there is so many different possibilities to use them that we even don't know yet all the options what we will have with them. But it's going to be big, and all this electrification of flying things will come from small to big. So the drones is coming first, then the planes and so on.
Yes, the time is running up. Thank you very much, Janne and Matthias. Thank you for active participation and listening. We are going on to a break. In half an hour, 13:30, we have battery factories and future employment in the Wasa region, the need for new innovations. Welcome back then.